This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Do you think it's okay to move $40 million of money without telling your court-appointed monitor and receiver about the movement of cash from your company and just leave her in the dark as she makes reports to a judge? If so, you should go work for the Trump Organization because that's what's happened. Donald Trump and his children have moved $40 million purportedly to pay for taxes for Donald Trump for over $29 million and pay off, at least deposit into the court registry, $5.5 million, representing the money he will one day have to pay E. Jean Carroll for being found guilty of sexual abuse and defamation in New York. He is required under the court order from a year and a half ago, installing former federal judge Barbara Jones in as a monitor who has full and complete access and can peer into all the financial records in real time and accounting ledgers and transaction reports and bank statements and bank accounts of Trump world, all the Trump entities, including the trust that operates Donald Trump's assets. And you're supposed to tell her about money movement and explain it. She doesn't have to approve it. I want to make this clear. The monitor doesn't approve. It's not a classic receiver who makes the business decisions for the companies. It's a monitor. It keeps a watchful eye on behalf of the court as an arm of the court, as Judge Engoron likes to say in the civil fraud case. She's an arm of the court. It's as if the judge gets to look in the cash register every day for the Trump Organization. But in this case, it's Barbara Jones, former federal Judge Jones. And in her reporting, we just got, while we're in week 8 of the civil fraud case, it's going terribly for Donald Trump, in which 5 more counts of fraud are up on the chart for the New York Attorney General to prove, as long as she proves materiality and intent to defraud. And then the judge gets to the remedy, which is to take away all of Donald Trump's hotels and businesses and money, titles and companies and all of that. In the middle of that, you think you mind your P's and Q's. You think you color inside the lines and not violate any of your orders or the judge's orders. But he doesn't care, Donald Trump, about this judge. He thinks this judge is not a judge. He doesn't give him any respect. He thinks he's going to bash his way to a successful trial, which he's not going to. And here's the latest. There's $40 million of money movement that they didn't tell Barbara Jones about, Judge Jones about. $29.5 million or so allegedly for taxes for Donald Trump. Who knew he paid so much taxes? Only because we're shining a light on him now and he suddenly has to pay taxes. And $5.5 million that he should have paid to E. Jean Carroll for having been adjudged in May by a jury in New York of sexual abuse, effectively rape and defamation of a former editor for Elle magazine back in 1996. He put aside that money because he had to pay it into the court registry as part of the appeal of that loss. And I'm going to make it clear. It is fine to use your money for these purposes, but you need to tell the monitor about it. And the monitor instead had a report to Judge Engoron that there was 2 major money movements above the threshold of $5 million that they were supposed to tell her in advance or when it happened, and they didn't. So in order to avoid the ire of the judge, according to the report by Judge Jones, the Trump Organization and entities have agreed to enhanced monitoring, meaning proctologist style, she is going to be more up their backside than she was before. And that they basically, I think, apologized for moving the money without telling her. They're going to move money only after explaining it to her. And they've acknowledged anew their requirement, right? They already violated it, but they won't do it again if they move any money or cash for $5 million or more. Below that, it's sort of, I don't want to say de minimis because it's a lot of money, but that's the level of her monitorship. But the takeaway from this hot take is look at the gall, the chutzpah, as we like to say in New York. It's a legal term. You can look it up. Of Donald Trump in the middle of a trial to decide his business fate and whether he's going to lose everything that his father had worked for at the hands of Judge Engoron, and he just thumbs his nose at federal Judge Barbara Jones and just moves money willy-nilly without reporting it to her, and then has to beg for mercy and beg for enhanced monitoring, please. I'd like to do enhanced monitoring, please, to avoid her having to report to the judge and him finding them in contempt. He may still, Judge Engoron, not like that report aspect and want to codify as part of a modified order of the judge, not just of a monitor, but the judge issuing an enhanced monitoring requirement. That's what I would do if I were the judge, because the monitor is an arm of the court and a sort of independent. And the judges make decisions and order. Monitors make report and observation. And so I think this will lead to Judge Engoron modifying his order to comply or to conform with what Judge Jones has determined as a monitor, right? Judges decide, order, find people in contempt, monitors report, and provide information to the judge in order to do its job. So that's the takeaway here. Takeaway here is just this complete lack of respect for process, for orders, for order, for requirements, even when your company is subject to a monitor. I mean, I've been involved with companies that have had receivers or monitors of some sort involved. And you watch your P's and Q's. You are on your best behavior. You color inside the lines. Not Donald Trump. $40 million, tell the monitor, don't tell the monitor, who cares? As if she wasn't going to catch it. It's pretty obvious when she gets the bank statements and she sees $29.5 million IRS, $5.5 million clerk of the court. I mean, come on. And then she is permitted and required as an arm of the court to go ask the chief financial officer or Eric Trump or whoever's running the show these days when they're not in court testifying and holding their butts and say, what was that for? And why didn't I know about it? You have a $5 million requirement. I'm sure there's some letter writing that went back and forth between her and the organization. But it just shows you this complete lack of any type of respect for authority, for playing by the rules, for being on a level playing field. Donald Trump makes up his own rules as they go along and then complains when people don't comply with it. Yeah. So we'll continue to follow everything that's going on in this world. Barbara Jones, you might be ringing in your head a little bit. You might be thinking, didn't Donald Trump just try to call her as a witness in his favor a couple of days ago in the civil trial? And you'd be right. He did. The judge rejected it. I don't think the judge at the time, based on the date of the report that Judge Jones just made about the $40 million, which is just today, I don't think the judge knew about this issue at the time, but the judge says, no, she's an arm of the court. You're not going to take her testimony. We're not here on her monitorship because they wanted her to say that ever since she got in 2022, everything looks great, right? But that's not the case. The case is 2014 to 2021. So no one really cares if they finally cleaned up their act before the monitor got there. It's about what they did before. That's the case. And the judge rejected it. But can you imagine if she got on the stand and in cross-examination from the New York Attorney General, she was asked, are there any issues that you've noticed recently about the operation of the Trump organization? Well, yes. They transferred $40 million without telling me. I mean, that would be a terrible result for them in the courtroom. But that's how they operate. That's how they operate. They don't think ahead of how witnesses can negatively impact their case before they put them on. We'll continue to follow this kind of new information in the civil fraud case of Donald Trump and everything else that sits at the intersection of law, injustice, and politics. One place, the MeidasTouch Network, and Legal AF, the leading curated podcast about law, politics, and justice on the MeidasTouch Network. Catch us on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Got 2 anchors, 4 or 5 stories from that week to catch you up, and then rinse and repeat. We do it again on Saturday. If you like this kind of hot take, who doesn't like hot takes? Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps with the ratings. It really does. And until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.